Hello, and welcome to the Argyle CIO Leadership Forum, CIO Trends and Properties. My name is Nick with Argyle, and it's great to have everyone joining us today. A couple of notes before I turn things over to our esteemed speaker. First, a quick reminder to stop by our sponsors' virtual booths at any time during today's event and for the following week. Our partners are committed to providing you with valuable content and a great overall experience. At any time during today's event, you can visit their virtual booths from the main agenda page, which include complimentary materials, information, and meet and greet opportunities. Throughout today's event, you will also have the opportunity to win one of several prizes. So be sure to check out the prizes and raffle rules tab of the interface to see how you can earn points. To ask questions throughout the session, simply type into the Q&A chat and we will address your questions at the end of the session. Now, without further delay, I would like to introduce our speaker, Naveen Achyuta, Senior Network Reliability Engineer, Roblox. We are excited to have Naveen with us for a keynote presentation titled Network Automation Trends and Their Strategic Importance. Welcome, Naveen. Over to you.
Hello, everyone. Uh, I know this is the last presentation, so you guys must be tired, but we will go through it. I'm going to make sure that this is as interesting as possible. So, today, as Nick said, we're going to talk about what are the network automation trends in the industry right now and why we should have network automation in the company. So, before I start my presentation, who am I? So I'm a senior network reliability engineer at Roblox. It says reliability, but I work specifically on software, so it should be network software engineer. And I have been working in the industry for 6 years. I was in Comcast before, and now I'm working on Roblox. And my biggest flex, I guess, is I've only caused one customer outage in my life in the last 6 years, which is crazy to me as well. I know it won't be my last, because if you're in the tech industry, you have to do some outage, right? So let's go through the agenda for today. We're gonna start with the introduction and talk about network automation a little bit, and then the current trends in the industry and why you should embrace network automation. And when you embrace it, what are the challenges you're going to face? And then the future trends in the industry, and we will end the presentation with some of the key takeaways. All right, so let's start with the introduction. So, what is network automation? Well, in a network, you have network devices and you also have the network itself. So, network automation is just a process of you automating the provisioning of devices, doing config management, testing if your changes are good, monitoring your network and the network devices, and obviously the operations of it. Usually in the server world, everything is focused only on the server itself, but in network automation, you have to focus on network device. But what is going on the network as well? You need to know an overall view as also. So right now, the global network automation market is between $2 to $5 billion as of 2023, and a lot of market researchers expect that there will be a CAGR of 23 to 25% from 2024 to 2030. So there's going to be a huge amount of growth, and obviously, if it's growing that much, the adoption of network automation is increasing rapidly, and trust me, I have seen that firsthand. So this is uh, a view that I got from Gartner, which is very interesting. On the y-axis, you have the percentage of companies. On x-axis is how much percentage of the network is automated. So let's say in 2021, 41% of the companies had their or network automated only less than 10%, which is crazy. But as you go along, you see it's 5% for 76% or more. But in 2023, it went from 5 to 13% for 76% automated networks, which is really good. And I'm pretty sure it's going to increase eventually. So when you're doing network automation, what kind of automation are you doing? So it starts with, let's say, provisioning devices, upgrading the devices. You use ZTP, you'll have some upgrade scripts that you're going to use. And for monitoring, you will have your monitoring stack where you're collecting state data and metrics from network devices and ensuring everything is working fine. You'll have config management. Every device has configuration. How do you manage it? How do you push it? And ensuring that it has the intended state. Everything that comes under config management. Network testing is before you make a change in production. Like how would you change? How would you test your change, config change? You can use Container Lab, JNS3 for that. Source of truth is how do you where do you model network? What assets do you have? What is the interface for this device that faces the white device, let's say? So everything is modeled in a source of truth, which is Netbox, InfraDB. Then you have network visualization. Obviously, you have a big network. You want to see how it looks. So you need some kind of tools for that. And event-driven systems are when, let's say, you get an alert for something from your alerting system. Can you take an automated action on it? Like a flat interface is flapping, you drain it. That could be event-driven system. And capacity planning to see you so that you can forecast the future, like how much capacity you need, and you budget accordingly. So you need those tools as well. All right, so that was an overview of network automation. So let's go through some current trends that we have in the industry. The first one is network programmability and APIs. Most of the vendors, maybe all the vendors, already have some kind of API that we can use to collect metrics from devices, or we can also do config pushes using that. And there are libraries like Netmiko and Napalm that can connect to the device, and you can ask whatever you want. And there's a big move to shift to a network as code, which means how do you manage configs? Do I put that in the Excel sheet, or should I just keep that in Git, have Ginger templates to so that we get, so that is reusability, and then just render that for our network devices and have version control as well. Then AI, machine learning. Well, AI is everywhere right now, but this was already there. I'm not saying that it was there forever, but like for the last 3-4 years, I feel there has been a good improvement here. Like you have anomaly detection. Let's say if there's a sudden traffic drop, or you can identify an optic failure before it happens. Excuse me. You can use machine learning tools for that, and also for root cause analysis. And AI assisted capacity planning optimization. This is being used currently by a lot of companies, where you can forecast how much. I have mentioned this before as well, where you can forecast how much capacity you need in the future by, let's say, taking 1 year of traffic data and just forecasting the future by using a lot of machine learning models, supervised or unsupervised machine learning models. Then we have ZTP, which is zero touch provisioning, which is when you get the device into the network, the device will take care of provisioning the whole device, getting the OS, getting the config, and just getting it up and running. So it's really cool. And I think it's one of the mature tools we have in the industry. And expansion beyond initial setup is if you want to do an RMA of your device, you get a new one and you do the ZTP again. So it can be used in operations as well. And the last one is GitOps for network infrastructure. This is pretty recent, where what if you can you keep your configs in Git, and then you can run some kind of test. Let's say you spin up a container lab, and you push your config and see if something goes wrong. And if it doesn't, hey, everything looks good, and then you can go ahead and just merge your PR, deploy it in production, and you're good. And you can add a bunch of other tests as well. So which is really cool, to be honest. And Yep. I mean, there are a lot of other trends right now. One, network digital twin, automated upgrades. I mean, this would be a completely different presentation if I keep talking about current trends. But yeah, these are the major ones that we have in the industry. So, went to the current trends. So, why should we embrace network automation if you don't have it? Well, it increases your efficiency and productivity, which means like streamline workflows, reduce manual tasks. What this means is, let's say you're doing a migration. Uh, Maybe in your network you have commercial and residential traffic in an ISP flowing in the same network, and you want to aggregate disaggregate it. Now you need to do this migration. Now the amount of tasks, monitoring, configuring, migrating, talking with the technician to move the cables. There's so many things going on that there are some tasks that can be automated. So in this case, let's say, what if there's a task that automates the monitoring of that part of the network, and now you don't need to, the engineer doesn't need to care about it. Now your workflow is streamlined, like you're focusing only on the migration, and then you have this something on the side just showing you if everything is fine or not. It also reduces manual tasks. Now you don't need to run that manually, go back and forth again and again, and you just focus on your migration. It reduces human errors. Well, this is pretty obvious. A lot of uh, outages happen in in networking, at least, is most of the times is fat fingering or something. We put the wrong configuration in the mop, so and that causes obviously a lot of outages. So now that can be avoided if it's automated. Like if it's automated, all the configuration consistent, and you can use that whenever you're doing the, let's say in this case, migration. You won't do the migration once. Like if you have migration, if you have to do it 10 times. Now if it's static, it's consistent, you can just apply that across all those migrations, and you know that it's going to work, which is great. Faster deployment and scaling. Now, let's say you want to block a prefix in an access list in the network, and you want to do it in the backbone. So now you can, instead of doing it one by one in each device, if you have some kind of automation for it, now you can just push it once, and it will be deployed across all the network devices. And if you have more growth in the future, let's say your backbone is becoming bigger and bigger, now you can easily scale that uh, using your automation script. That even if you have a very simple script, it can easily accommodate that growth. I mean, unless if it's thousands of devices, then you need a better system that can scale. But for simple stuff, it should be able to uh, it should be able to do it. And the last one is cost savings. It means like optimize human resource utilization and minimize downtime. Now, let's say in this case, let's say you're provisioning devices. Now you have, if you want to do 50 device, you want to provision 50 devices. Now, let's say you need 15 people for that if you're doing it manually. But if a bunch of tasks is automated already, now you don't need 15 people for that. You can reduce that to 9 or 10. And those 9 and 10 engineers can focus on the important things during provisioning, and the time they have saved can be used for something important that they can prioritize, like designing of network or whatever it is, which is so it optimizes and also saves a lot of money and minimizes downtime. Obviously, if you're automating something, as I said, everything is consistent, so you're also saving, decreasing your downtime, which means you're saving money. All right, so I'm going to give two examples. This is the first one, like why we should do automation. Data center technician wants to provision a network device in on-prem DC. Well, what are the manual steps? I'm not saying this is the only thing. It could be more, it could be less. Uh, the first one is you're planning, preparing how you want to do it. Then you have to install the device physically, cable it, power on the device. uh, enable console connectivity for it, and then you have to boot the device with the code version you want, add the basic configuration, add the protocol configuration, then security hardening as you remove the defaults, add access lists, then you have to test and verify, like, as simple as pings or uh, using this NC command to just to see if everything is looking fine. You have to see if the protocols are up or not. Then you have to model that somewhere. Like all this information on the device, you have to put that in the network source of truth. So you have to create that in, let's say, in Netbox, model the net interfaces, all that stuff, and then finally you move the device to production. So these could be in two different ways. One is usually you can have data center technician doing it. Sometimes you have a mix of technician and network engineer uh, doing it. Now, if we have automation, let's say we just have a simple script and ZTP, most of the tasks can be just automated. And the data center technician can just focus on cabling, powering it on, all the physical stuff that he was uh, hired for, and then he can do it more efficiently, like do the cabling, run a script that just does all the steps from 4 to 10, and then go to the other device, right? And then uh, you have efficiencies. The technician is focusing only on physical stuff, and then use the rest of your time to do something more important. Second one, users are not able to access the application and network engineer wants to verify if it's a network issue or not. Now, as you know, network engineers are always blamed for outages. But how can you monitor your network and ensure that, hey, maybe it's not the network? Well, and if it is, what is the root cause of it? Initially, you the legacy solutions, I guess, you just gather metrics from each device, check the show commands, see if something is wrong with it. Very time consuming manual process. You don't have any dashboards. Well, you compensate that with having vendor monitoring solutions, where even for basic network issues, you still have to rely on them because you don't have the expertise to set up monitoring, and then rely on them for alerting, and spend millions of dollars doing that. If it's very complicated, then yes, maybe it makes sense. But yeah, simple, if you're doing a basic monitoring of your network, maybe you don't need that. Well, I say that, but how do you do it? Well, do you think, is there a better solution? And is it free? Yes, and yes. Uh, you can just leverage open source TPG stack for monitoring network devices that will help you to create alerts, and you can also create dashboards. It's that simple. You can have Telegraph gather metrics from network devices and then store it in Prometheus database, which is a time series database. And on the other side, you have Grafana, which is a visualization tool where you can visualize traffic, you can visualize flaps, you can check the temperature of your device. You can do all that just by creating a bunch of dashboards there. And in Prometheus, you can create alerts. Let's say you have two flaps in a particular link. Alert network engineer, and then engineer will take care of that. And this is all open source, so anyone can, uh, any company can just go ahead and implement it for uh, small to medium network, maybe big, depends on scalability. So those were the examples of why we should embrace network automation and some of the points that I mentioned. Now, when you try to do it, what are the challenges you're going to face? Well, let's see the technical challenges first. The first one is, if you have legacy infrastructure in your company, then there may be issues. What if API is not supported in the legacy network device? Now you will have to think about, oh, can I do screen scraping? Do I have to do run a show command and then get the output, and then go to each string and figure out, do we have to do that, or should we just does it make sense to just upgrade it so that we don't we fix the security issues and we get rid of legacy stuff? And automation can introduce new security risks, which could be you storing all the metric data, let's say configuration somewhere, Now, where are you keeping it? Let's say for metrics, you're keeping it in time series database. Now you need to ensure that it's secure. Does it have the right where are you storing the credits for it? All that stuff. So you will have these new security risks that you have to address. That is straightforward, so it should be fine. Then you have organizational challenges. Now, uh, this is, I feel, the big one where the first one is employees may resist changes to their workflows or job roles. There will be a resistance to change because employees are usually just used to what they're doing and they don't want to move out of it. Well, now that depends on upper management. Upper management has to ensure that they are fostering a culture in the company where engineers are willing to change, adapt to new things. We should emphasize the positives of it, how we can help their career growth, and how what if upper management is giving maybe some reward for, let's say, adopting network automation, something like that. So that can help. Obtaining support and buying from key stakeholders can be difficult. A lot of times engineers, they usually talk about how they can uh, in their own terms they try to talk to upper management, but they have to talk in their language so that they understand, like, why are we doing it, how does it align with organization skills, understanding their concerns and addressing that. That's super important to do it. Organizations may lack the necessary skills and expertise to implement and manage automation solutions. This is big. This happens. This is one of the biggest issues in the industry. Automation in networking has been slow because people are just stick to what they have. And as I said, it's improving culture, but also giving them training, regular training on the importance of automation, how they can build, let's say, a Python course, a basic monitoring workshop, and that can help them upscale themselves and also it will help their career growth as well. So, last one, operational changes. Well, this is straightforward. If you have automation systems, you have to ensure that it is reliable, and then you have to maintain it, keep updating it. If there's a security fix that you need to have, you have to update your solutions so that you don't have vulnerability. And then obviously scale your automation systems to accommodate growth and changing needs. If your network is growing really fast, do we need a new solution, or we just use the existing one and then try to scale that. So those are some of the challenges we're going to face when we embrace network automation. So the last one is the future trends. All right, how much time do we have? We have 2 minutes. Okay, I'm going to try to go through this as soon as possible. Increase adoption of AI and machine learning. As I said, I have mentioned it in current trends. It is starting, it is at its infancy, but now it's growing a lot. Now we also doing, if this, how do I identify an optic failure? How can I do that? What data do I need? We have so much data in network, but it's like we don't have the expertise to do AML, but that is growing a lot now, which is great. Increase adoption of open source to a lot of companies, so a lot of engineers, they have started creating their own customized solutions now that people can use, like NetMiko, Napalm, and we can leverage open source tools as well that I mentioned before, right? Telegraph, Prometheus, Grafana. So, and it is being adopted a lot in the network industry, which is awesome. And the last one, this is, I guess, the dream for everyone, is autonomous networks. This is when, let's say, there's congestion in the network and it creates an alert. The alert goes through event-driven system. It acts on it, applies traffic engineering to the network so that the traffic is moved to some other link, and now the congestion is in control. And it's like a closed feedback, and the network is taking care of itself on its own. And that will be the dream, obviously, but I think we will reach there for sure. All right, so what are some of the key takeaways from this presentation? The first one is network automation offers significant benefits for organizations of small size. Even if you have 10 devices in your network, you can still have a monitoring stack that can, instead of going through each device trying to figure out what is happening, you can have a simple monitoring stack and just monitor it in Grafana. So why not? And it's free. You can it can streamline workflows, reduce errors, and improve overall network performance. Obviously, I think I have explained this again before. It definitely reduces human toll and also saves a lot of cost. And successful adoption requires careful planning, implementation, and ongoing management. Well, if you are adopting network automation, you need a good plan. Like, how do you convince upper management, like, hey, this will save costs, this will help engineers in their own growth and also improve the productivity of the employees? How how can we have automation engineers who can manage these systems, and how do we implement it, how do we grow it? There are so many things that you have to uh, think about, and I feel by careful planning it's definitely possible. And I'll be honest with you, it is simpler than we think. It's just that we need to start somewhere, right? So, yeah, I want to end the presentation with just this. Network automation is not just a trend, it's a necessity for organizations to remain competitive and secure in today's digital age. For the last, I think, 10, 15 years, people who are doing network automation, it was just like, oh, you're doing it for fun, and that's it. But and it has very few benefits, so why should we do it? But now people have realized, as the network is growing, and because of obviously digital age, the people have understood the importance of it. So yeah, that's my presentation. Thank you so much for listening to this presentation. So now we can do Q&A. Nick, do we have any questions?
We sure do. Here's a good one. How can organizations balance the need for automation with maintaining network security and compliance standards?
Well, you can use, in fact, you can use network automation just to do network compliance, security compliance. I'll give you an example of upgrades. If there's a lot of times in at least in network devices, when there's a security fix in servers, it's simple. Like, go from Ubuntu 22 to 24, that's it. When network devices, now you if you there's a security vulnerability in the network device, and now you need to have security compliance to ensure that the whole network is fixed with this security patch that you have. It's pretty slow if you're doing it manually. And so you need network automation to ensure that you are aligning to security compliance of your company and the industry as well. Does that answer the question?
I think so. Yeah, I believe so. Actually, there's a brand new question that just came in, Naveen. Um, Someone is asking about automating network security with AI. Are vendors like Juniper and Cisco moving forward with this?
Well, I had this discussion. So in Nanog, if you have not heard of Nanog, uh, it's one of the most important conferences in the network industry, where I gave a presentation about telemetry, and this one guy from Juniper, we had a conversation about how we can uh, have AI put AI into network security, but for that we need data, and network has a lot of data, and but we don't know how to leverage it. And this guy was from Juniper, and they are trying to figure out a solution where they can ingest all the data from the network, clean it out, and ensure that, hey, if we I'm going to give an example of, let's say you have network traffic flowing, and there's something called random forest that you can use. Uh, if It's called supervised learning, where if you see potential threat, in the network packets, it will identify that and then alert you. And the way you can do that is you first fetch a bunch of data, like clean data with legitimate data and the threat data into the model, so that the model knows what is right and what is wrong. And in the future, if you're flowing the the live traffic through it, then it knows, oh, maybe this is a threat, then it alerts on it. So there are a lot of solutions. At least I know the guy I spoke to in Juniper was actively working on it. So I think it is being worked on for sure.
Great. And yeah, I think we're out of time for more questions, but there were some great ones. And thank you so much, Naveen, for such an incredible keynote. And I want to thank everyone else for joining us today. This session, along with all of today's content, will be available on demand following the event. For those of you who earn points throughout today's event, an Argyle team member will be following up with the winners in the next couple of weeks. This officially concludes the Argyle CIO Leadership Forum, CIO Trends and Priorities. Thank you again for joining us today and engaging in our content. We look forward to seeing you at our next Argyle Digital Information Technology event soon, which will be our AI Leadership Summit, Embracing AI for Future Success, on October 24th, 2024. Have a great rest of your day.